Behind the smiles, the speeches, and the "we are all equal" chants, there is a long and ugly history of racism that still lurks in the shadows of the industry. Some stars who preach love and equality on camera often spread hate and prejudice, from casual insults to career-destroying discrimination. Their actions have left deep scars that time has yet to fully heal. These are not just rumors or old stories. These are the dark realities of fame, power, and hypocrisy that Hollywood tries to hide. Here are 19 extremely racist Hollywood stars who exposed the ugliest side of the industry. Marlon Brando was more than just an actor. He was a phenomenon who broke every rule in Hollywood. Bold, flamboyant, and utterly unpredictable, he became a formidable voice for the oppressed, openly fighting for civil rights and culminating in refusing the highest award in protest of injustice. He was seen as a steadfast ally, someone who understood the nature of oppression, but the tragedy lies in the ultimate betrayal. This same hero would later make shockingly racist statements targeting the Jewish and Black communities. Those words were more than just a mistake, they were a fatal blow to the very principles he had sworn to defend. Brando's story illustrates a painful truth. Deep-seated bias can lurk even in the minds of those who claim to be great allies. He changed cinema forever with his unparalleled talent, but his late-life comments reveal an undeniable hypocrisy. His story is a chilling reminder that artistic brilliance can never excuse the ugliness of personal prejudice. Clint Eastwood, a symbol of toughness, cool, and imperturbability, has carved out a legendary film career. However, his personal demeanor has often veered into the uncomfortable realm of controversy. Over the years, he has been accused of defending racist imagery in his films and openly mocking Hollywood's efforts to promote diversity. Notably, at one award show, he even mocked those who denounce racism, acting as if the problem did not exist. Despite such controversial behavior and statements, Eastwood continues to be praised and honored, highlighting an uncomfortable reality of the industry. Hollywood is sometimes willing to separate exceptional talent from personal morality. Eastwood's classic mindset is a reminder that celebrity cannot erase prejudice. His enduring career is proof that power and status in Hollywood can still be a shield that shields you from real consequences for controversial behavior, including those involving racism. John Wayne, a titan of Hollywood, a fearless cowboy who embodied the resilient spirit of America, was a symbol of strength and heroism that is deeply ingrained in popular culture. But behind the flashy lights and iconic cowboy hat was a shocking and unacceptable truth. In an old interview, Wayne publicly exposed a shocking racial stereotype, admitting to his belief in white supremacy and declaring no guilt over his dispossession of Native Americans. These words were not a slip of the tongue, but a naked exposure of deeply held racist beliefs, for which he never repented. Decades later, these shocking comments remain an indelible mark on his legacy, showing that racism is not just a shadow in Hollywood. Sometimes it stands tall at the height of his fame. John Wayne's story is a chilling reminder even the most admired stars, the celebrated legends, can carry controversial shadows behind their shining auras. Mel Gibson, once the pinnacle of Hollywood, from the hero of Braveheart to the powerful director of The Passion of the Christ, was a particularly ugly one, a series of disgusting, openly racist and anti-Semitic statements that shook fans everywhere. His fame and illustrious career were virtually shattered overnight. What's more remarkable, however, is how Hollywood has slowly welcomed him back with open arms, as if those hateful statements never happened. Which raises a thorny question. Why is fame so forgiving of hate, as long as it comes from a profitable name? Gibson's case is a stark illustration. Racism and prejudice can lurk even behind the most successful, and Hollywood's forgiveness often grows rapidly when power and financial gain are involved. His return remains one of the most controversial episodes and exposed the hypocrisy of the entertainment industry. Michael Richards, the man who defined anarchic comedy with his iconic role as Kramer on Seinfeld, went from beloved legend to public disgrace in a matter of minutes. During a live stand-up performance, a violent outburst erupted, in which Richards hurled a horrific racial slur at a group of black audience members. Video of the incident went viral, exposing a dark, unexpected side to the artist the world once admired. A desperate apology afterward did nothing to salvage a career that had been destroyed. The laughter he once brought was replaced by silence and shame. Richards's painful downfall is a stark reminder that racism can lurk behind even the most humorous of stars, and that a single moment of inattention can end decades of legend. That night became one of Hollywood's most unforgettable and saddest scandals. Walt Disney, a name synonymous with magic, childhood, and innocence, built a global empire based on imagination. But behind that colorful world and fairy tales lies a troubling history that reflects deeply racist ideas. Many of Disney's early animated films depicted shocking caricatures and openly mocked Black and Asian people. His studio has even been accused of condoning discrimination that lasted for years. While Disney has shaped generations with his relentless creativity, his work is a mirror of the ugly side of Hollywood's past, a time when racism was considered a normal form of entertainment. This history clearly shows how prejudice was ingrained into the foundations of this hugely successful industry. The happiest place on earth was built with shadows that time cannot completely erase, reminding us that even the most beloved legends must face the complex truths of their legacy. Frank Sinatra's voice melted hearts, and his glamorous era-defining image defined an era. He was even praised for his public defense of civil rights and standing up for minorities, building a reputation as a man of tolerance. But here's the shocking truth. Behind closed doors, those close to him told a different story, that off-camera, Sinatra frequently used racist slurs and made crude jokes. The contradiction was truly astonishing. The same man celebrated for his tolerance could secretly harbor hatred behind the scenes. His behavior reflected the hypocrisy of many Hollywood stars who masked progress in public while maintaining their own prejudices. Sinatra's timeless charm couldn't mask that complex dark side, proving that even golden voices can carry ugly truths. Sean Connery, who defined the original James Bond, is admired worldwide as an icon of charm and power on screen, with a daring that has made him an irreplaceable cinematic legend. However, the shocking truth lies in this. In interviews, Connery publicly revealed a side that shocked fans when he made racist and sexist comments without remorse. These harsh comments exposed deep prejudice that still exists even in the minds of Hollywood's biggest stars. The contradiction here is extreme. The public praised his performance, but deliberately ignored the intolerance that accompanied it. Connery's image as a true gentleman collapsed as his true beliefs were exposed, a chilling reminder that classy charm and ugly prejudice can coexist, and that fame can never cover up ignorance. Liam Neeson shocked the world when he revealed that, in a dark moment in his life, he had wandered the streets looking for a random black man to vent his anger on after his best friend was attacked. There was nothing brave about that confession, only chilling and horrifying. Because the man who played good heroes on the silver screen from Schindler's List to Taken turned out to have been blinded by hatred himself. Neeson apologized, admitted it was the biggest mistake of his life, and insisted he had learned a valuable lesson. But the hurt from his words is not easy to erase. It exposed a bitter truth. Racism doesn't just exist in nameless bad guys. It sometimes lurks deep within the very people we still glorify as heroes. And Hollywood may love redemption stories, but the scars will always be imprinted on Liam Neeson's career. Elvis Presley is revered around the world as the king of rock and roll, an irreplaceable icon in American music history. But behind that glory lies a complicated story that Hollywood rarely wants to mention. The musical style, rhythm, and even the daring dance moves that made him famous all originated from the black community artists who laid the foundation for rock and roll long before Elvis came along. Yet when the spotlight came to him, he often denied or minimized the influence of those who inspired him. While Elvis reached the pinnacle of fame, many black artists of his time were kept in the shadows by the ruthless racism of the music industry. Elvis became the perfect symbol of how American entertainment cashed in on black culture, but left that community out of the picture, taking their music, their story, and then crowning a white man as a legend. Elvis Presley's legacy was certainly history-making. But alongside the applause was a bitter silence from those who were robbed of recognition, those whose creations were hidden behind the king's halo. Katherine Hepburn has always been celebrated as a symbol of strength and independence, a woman who dared to break all gender stereotypes of her time. But behind that halo, there exists a truth that few people want to mention. The films she participated in many times contributed to reinforcing toxic racial stereotypes about people of color and Asian culture. Although considered progressive in classical Hollywood, Hepburn never spoke out against it or used her power to change the situation. Her silence says it all. It shows that racism in Hollywood at that time was not just outrageous public actions, but also a chilling, silent acceptance. Hepburn's career was brilliant with Oscar Gold and memorable roles, but at the same time, it was also marked by performances that unintentionally normalized prejudice. Her legacy is a bitter reminder that even pioneers can end up on the wrong side of history, choosing the safety of their reputation over the voice of their conscience. Judy Garland captivated the world with her radiant smile in The Wizard of Oz. But that aura also hid a dark side that Hollywood would rather not talk about. When her career was still young and completely controlled by the powerful studios, Garland was forced to participate in blackface performances, a cruel form of entertainment once considered normal, turning the humiliation of black people into laughter for the audience. Sadly, those moments have become part of her legacy, even though they do not belong to the Judy Garland the world loves. Her story exposes how Hollywood builds myths with moral compromise and smiles that hide a deep shame. Garland's talent is undeniable. Her voice touched the hearts of millions, but it cannot erase the stain of an era that saw racism as entertainment. That fact reminds us that cinema history not only makes stars, but also creates wounds that need to be acknowledged and never forgotten. Mickey Rooney was once one of America's most beloved entertainers, but his illustrious career was marked by a stigma that Hollywood has never truly erased. In Breakfast at Tiffany's, he played Mr. Yunioshi, a Japanese character built on the crudest of stereotypes, oversized dentures, a distorted voice, and gestures that demeaned Asians for laughs. Back then, audiences laughed heartily. Today, many find it just annoying and embarrassing. Rooney has said he never meant to offend anyone. But whatever the intention, his performance was a clear reflection of a Hollywood willing to make fun of an entire culture if it made money. The fact that such a scene appeared in a classic film only adds to the sense that racism was once considered normal on screen. And to this day, Rooney's role remains a bitter reminder of the prejudiced past that Hollywood must confront and correct. John Hughes has been called Hollywood's architect of youth, creating classic teen movies that made a generation feel understood. But behind the smiles, the teenage heartbreak, and the timeless pop songs lies a more nuanced truth. Many of his works introduced racist stereotypes into popular culture. In 16 Candles, the character Long Duc Dong becomes a painful caricature of Asians, the ridiculous name, the exaggerated accent, the goofy behavior, all for cheap laughs. And the most dangerous part is that audiences laughed. They laughed so much that it became how millions of people viewed Asians for years. Hughes may have captured youth with genius, but the laughs in his films were sometimes built on the vulnerability of communities that lacked the power to fight back. His cinematic work, while bringing fond memories to many, is also a reminder that light entertainment can still sow heavy prejudices when laughter comes from putting others down. Chevy Chase was once a golden face of American comedy, a pioneer of Saturday Night Live and a star of the hit Vacation series. But behind the spotlight, his image as a lovable star collapsed when stories of his racist habits spread behind the scenes. Colleagues who worked with him admitted that Chase had repeatedly made cruel slurs, turning race into jokes that went far beyond the bounds of respect. What was frightening was that when he was criticized, he still laughed and considered it genuine humor. His arrogance and refusal to apologize turned admiration into hostility. The laughter that was once reserved for Chase was now replaced by looks of contempt and alienation. Behind the laughter he brought was a shocking truth. Hollywood comedy once fostered prejudice by making insults entertainment. And now, Chevy Chase's legacy is not just classic movies, but also a warning about the dark side of laughter, where spite disguises itself as fun and hurts those who can't reciprocate. Quentin Tarantino is known for his explosive storytelling, razor-sharp dialogue, and films that always push the boundaries of controversy. But along with that genius comes a problem that Hollywood cannot ignore: the overuse of racist words in his work. Tarantino has always justified it as artistic realism, that to reflect the brutality of society, the dialogue must be rough and raw. But many critics say he is turning insults into cinematic specialties, turning slurs into something audiences expect. Even his closest actors sometimes can't hide the awkwardness when having to repeat those lines on camera. And that is the fragile line between art and insensitivity. Tarantino is truly a master of creating footage that makes viewers unable to look away. But that talent doesn't erase the fact that he helped normalize racist language on the big screen. While he tried to expose the truth, his work reminds us that Hollywood sometimes hides prejudice behind the name of creativity, using art as a shield for things that should have been buried long ago. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most recognizable action figures, Mark Wahlberg had a dark past that many have yet to forgive. As a teenager in Boston, he participated in hate-motivated attacks against Black and Asian people that left real pain, not just a criminal record. Those actions were not innocent, youthful mistakes, but racist violence that ruined lives. Wahlberg later publicly apologized and worked to reinvent his image from a brash rapper to a successful actor, family man, and reformed faith icon. But many still question, were those apologies genuine repentance or just a stepping stone to Hollywood's acceptance of him? Wahlberg's story is a clear example of how Hollywood loves rebirth but rarely looks deeply into the real price paid by victims. Success can change reputation, but it can't erase history. And no matter how far Mark Wahlberg travels in the light of fame, the shadows of his past will always follow him as a reminder that the consequences of cruelty never go away. Paula Deen was once hailed as the queen of Southern cooking, with her sunny smile and homey dishes. But that sugar-sweet image collapsed when her racist comments and romanticization of the plantation era were exposed. Deen admitted to using cruel slurs and praised an era when black people were oppressed but described as the good old days overnight. Her empire collapsed. Sponsors abandoned her. Her TV show was canceled, and her brand tottered like a sandcastle amid scandal. But Paula Deen's fall also revealed something harder to swallow than her buttery desserts. Racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smiles, puts on a floral apron, and invites you to the table. Despite her efforts to revive her career, Deen couldn't escape the echoes of her own words. And her story is a stark reminder that in Hollywood, as in real life, kindness can be hollow if it's built on prejudice and moral pretense. Justin Bieber rose to fame as a teenager, becoming a global sensation with a devoted fan base that any artist would envy. But the glittering spotlight couldn't obscure his tumultuous and disturbing past. Resurfaced videos show Bieber laughing while telling anti-black jokes and turning racist words into entertaining rhymes, a toxic mix of privilege, naivete, and adolescent arrogance. The public was shocked to realize that behind the shiny facade of a pop star was a lack of understanding that caused real hurt. Bieber apologized, saying he'd grown and understood. But those apologies couldn't erase the moment he turned an insult into a laugh. Bieber's career has continued to flourish, affording him countless opportunities that many others wouldn't have had if they'd been caught doing the same. It reminds us that racism doesn't always come from hatred. Sometimes it grows out of indulgence and privilege. And Hollywood, when profits are at stake, is willing to turn a blind eye to things that should never be tolerated. Ted Nent was once known as a passionate rock musician, bringing wild and free energy to the stage. But over time, that halo gradually became obscured by shocking statements. He openly expressed racist views against black people, immigrants, and many other disadvantaged communities, then used the excuse of freedom of speech to justify his hatred. It is worth noting that those venomous words were not a sudden outburst, but repeated continuously, deliberately, and without any sign of remorse. Despite the fierce controversy, Nent still has an audience willing to cheer him on, as proof that hate can exist openly when it is dressed in a flashy cloak of fame. Nent's story is not only about the prejudice of an individual, but also exposes an entertainment industry that is willing to ignore ethics as long as profits and fame continue to flow into their pockets. And that's the scariest thing. When no one stands up to stop it, the voice of racism can be stronger than any melody he ever played. These stories prove an undeniable truth. No fame is big enough to shield anyone from the consequences of betrayal. Some stars try to get back up, rebuild their shattered image, but others disappear completely under the weight of their own mistakes. And then, the question remains, haunting, is Hollywood truly forgiving, Or will these actors forever be imprisoned in the shadow of years-old scandals? If these secrets have left you stunned, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video to spread the truth. Turn on notifications so you never miss the wildest stories waiting behind the scenes of Hollywood.